So much for joining us. I am Victor Brooks. I'll be your moderator this evening and laying down all the rules and whatnot. Before we get started, please feel free to unmute yourselves or turn on your cameras if you would like. Certainly don't have to. While Joe is giving his presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down in the chat and we will answer those towards the end of our session. If you have any technical issues or anything, please put it down in the chat and we will try to address it. During the last 15 or 20 minutes of our presentation, we'll open it up to questions and answers. So if you haven't put your question down in the chat, you'll have a chance to share them with the rest of the participants. And lastly, when we're done with all of this, we will give you all a copy of the slides that we share here today. We would like for this to be as interactive as possible. So if you wouldn't mind, we would love for everybody to just go around, say hello, and quickly share your connection to SIRE, just so everybody knows who everybody is. We don't have too large of a crowd here today, so this should work. And the first person on my screen happens to be Anne. So Anne, if you wouldn't mind just saying hello and telling us about your connection to SIRE.
Oh, well, I'm Ann Prentice and my daughter Carrie is a SIRE writer, and we're currently writing at Fort Bend. Previously, she wrote at Hockley.
Oh, that's great. And Candy.
Hi, this is Candy Lucas. I am a leader volunteer at SIRE Fort Bend and have worked there for 8 years, I believe, and also helped out at Spring in the summer.
Great. Mary Beth.
Yeah, right now. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Mary Bourne.
Oh, hi. It's Mary Bourne Barth, and my son and I volunteered as sidewalkers at the Fort Bend facility for a year, and then my students with Rice Capstone did a strategic plan for SIRE several years ago, and we're hoping to work with SIRE again this year. So great organization. I love it, and just want to catch up with y'all and see how you're doing.
Great. Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Day. Our daughter Shelby rides at Fort Bend.
Very cool. Let's see, Anne. Oh, sorry, I already got Anne. The names are jumping around a little bit here on me. Patricia.
Is that me, Pat?
Yes.
Nobody calls me Patricia. I've been a SIRE volunteer for over 25 years in various capacities, and I am currently, I've gone back on the board and I do grant writing for SIRE, but not for the capital campaign.
Great. And then I think the last person is Susan.
Good evening. I'm Susan Gonzalez. I'm a fan of SIRE and looking forward to learning more and hopefully possibly volunteering in the future.
Awesome. So lots of insiders, lots of volunteers. Thank you all so much for all the great work that you do. And with that, I will turn it over to SIRE's board president, Charlotte McIntyre.
Wait, Victor, did we catch Jen?
Oh,
Yeah,
Jen, I'm so sorry. Jen, you're my favorite.
I was like, we've got Jen. She's another one of our new board members.
Now I have to talk. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Smart, and as Charlotte said, I'm one of the new board members. My very good and dear friend Liz Walzell is on the board, and she approached me and asked if I would want to be involved, and I did, and I am, and I'm happy to be here and to meet everybody virtually.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us this evening. I think what we kind of want to do is just give you a little bit of maybe like a year in review of SIRE, and then kind of looking forward what we're up to, and it is just really exciting. So in January of, I guess we're going back more than 1 year, but in January of 2019, the board embarked on creating a 5-year strategic plan, and really wanted to hold ourselves accountable with measurable tasks. And one of these was to streamline our operations so that we could ultimately serve more riders and more clients in our updated facilities. So we were working our plan, things were going along great. In February of 2020, we had voted to move forward with our plans to embark on a capital campaign to improve our spring site and make it our flagship property. And about 3 weeks later, like the whole rest of the world, we got shut down. And so we had to kind of pivot and figure out what the world would look like for us in the COVID world instead of the pre-COVID world. But fortunately, we had gone through all of the planning. We had made the difficult decisions about what we would do, where we wanted to operate. We'd done all the legwork. We'd gotten all the stuff in place. And so what we ended up having to do quite suddenly, which we did not really like doing, was that we had to close our Hockley facility permanently. So we were shut down. We didn't know what the world was going to look like. And but we knew that Hockley wouldn't reopen, and we knew that that would impact many of our clients. And we wanted to try and make that as smooth of a landing as possible. So our staff and our volunteers worked tirelessly to make sure that all of our horses were taken care of. We hunkered down for a little bit, trying to figure out how we could continue to serve our clients and their families, because we knew that SIRE was an essential service, and we needed to figure that out. So what happened is we actually have horses who learned how to Zoom. So we had horse Zoom meetings where our riders got to talk to their horses virtually. So that is kind of how we started off. And then we ended up in the summer being able, with all precautions in place, to be able to open up and kind of test our protocols and kind of dip our feet back into the water. So that is kind of what we've done for the past year, or past 6 months ago. And now Joe's going to kind of walk us through what our next steps are.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah, it has been quite an 8 months, and I'm very happy to report that, you know, through the diligence of the staff at the riding locations, one of the things that Charlotte didn't mention, and many of you know it because you're there, is that with the COVID closed down, Richmond State Supported Living Center could no longer accommodate us. So on a very quick 2-month turnaround, Helen found a new place in Fort Bend. It's beautiful, Toledo Farms, and got things up and running with only 1 week behind our schedule. So our regularly scheduled opening. So we've been very fortunate that through the implementation of some protocols and not putting as many riders in a lesson as we normally would, that we right now are serving about 85% of what we were serving pre-COVID. So we're very excited about that and very happy that outside of that, all the riders from Hockley that wanted to, you know, continue with SIRE have found a new home, with the exception of a couple who can only ride on Saturdays, and Saturdays are just booked to the max, but we're working with them. So we're excited. And in fact, we have a waiting list of about 34 people in spring and another 18 to 20 at Fort Bend waiting to get into lessons as soon as we can lighten up on our protocols and let more people into lessons. So it's very exciting. One of the things that, again, what makes me so excited about being a part of SIRE is, as much as I love horses, and as much as I love to see people learn new skills on the horses, it's about how those skills they learn on the horse really impacts their life and really seeps into all parts of their lives. And we've been very excited to, you know, whether it's the physical part of riding, which 15 years ago, that's probably mostly what we'd be talking about, is how we can help kids physically and adults physically. But over the years, we've really learned how therapeutic riding impacts them psychologically, socially, and even in their educational careers, to the point now that we've moved to about 1/3 of our riders are on the autism spectrum. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at 2 different screens because one has my notes and one has the presentation. But that kind of all brings us back to what Charlotte was talking about with our strategic plan. And as we put that together, we really saw 3 things that had to happen to make SIRE's next 37 years as impactful as its first 37 years have been. And that was to grow our financials and to create a stable financial situation so that we could grow in confidence, that we strengthen our infrastructure, which I'm going to talk about quite a bit here, but for many, many years, we had leased and borrowed and begged facilities. And, you know, as we saw with Richmond State, that really became a challenge, not having that infrastructure to continue lessons on our own property. And then it doesn't matter how many people serve if we don't do it well, so that our program excellence and we have the best horses and the best staff. To that end, the board undertook this very big part of the strategic plan about infrastructure and services and said, you know, what do we really need to do? You know, and in spring we didn't have a barn, so we wanted a permanent home for our horses. We want to be able, when people come and visit, whether they're a caregiver, a rider, or just a friend, that there's a comfortable place to sit and view what's going on, that preferably is air conditioned in the summer. That our sensory riding courses have become a really integral part of what we're doing, and they need to be updated and maintained, and that all of our campuses need to be totally accessible, and which is a challenge in horse country and on a farmland setting, but those were really important to us. And then we looked at how can we serve more people with the same quality. One thing we started last year, a new program called Equine Assisted Learning, where we work with the schools, and it has been a major success. We work with Harris County Department of Education. They bring students out from 4 of their alternative schools to meet weekly with a group of 8 to 12 students that work in a, they're usually either 3-week or 6-week programs, really focused on what the students need. So 2 of the schools are for people with disabilities. So a lot of the work is the same as what we've done before. But one of the schools is for drug and alcohol addiction. So we spend a lot of time on trust and confidence and overcoming fear. And then one of the schools is for students with behavioral issues. So we start working on emotional control, emotional regulation, behavior, those types of things. So they've done a great job of putting together a curriculum so that we know when these students come in, whether it's for 3 weeks or 6 weeks, exactly where we're headed. And that's, like I say, that's been very successful. And even with the schools shut down, they want to be here, and they've continued to receive services for that. And then the next step in this journey is a lot of our riders, in addition to the cognitive needs or the social needs or the physical needs, have some real psychological needs as well. So we hope in the next year or 2 to be opening up our what's called EAP, or equine assisted psychotherapy, to have licensed therapists available to work one-on-one with those that need that kind of support. And that's what makes me so proud to do what I do here at SIRE. little part that I play in keeping this collection of cats moving in the same direction some days, but is that you get to see every day that this is really life-changing. And I know there's several people on here that can speak to this better than I, because they've seen it in their loved ones. And we just felt, and the board felt, that they needed to take the move that if we're doing really important work, it should be done in an environment that reflects a standard of excellence that we desire all the way around. And Charlotte, you probably have better stories. You've been involved longer than I have. Although I can't say that much longer. I'm coming up on 5 years with SIRE. Did you want to share anything on impact
you know,
that you've seen?
I think that with all of the people on this call, I think that pretty much all of them could share way better stories than I could share. But I mean, just seeing, I mean, I think I've met and been able to watch most of your children ride, and they're just phenomenal. Watching the progress and seeing the impact and hearing from them the impact that SIRE makes on their lives is what makes me want to keep doing it. So thank you very much for your confidence in our organization.
So we are, yes, and appreciate it. And so we are moving forward. A big part of the decisions that were made earlier in this year really were about the spring site. But with the challenges we've had at Fort Bend, they've added a new element of priorities. So I'm going to go through at our spring location. If you've been there, the 2 white boxes is what we have, and the little red box, we have an arena, large size, and a very small arena, and that red box is a mobile home that the office is in. And when we looked at what do we need to grow this so that we can serve, instead of 100 to 110 clients a week, to 250 to 300 clients, we started with, you know, we need another large arena. We need a barn that can house 24 horses. So that became a big excitement. We'll get rid of the trailer because we'll build the administrative offices that I'm going to talk about, and then add over on the south side of the property a place for psychotherapy, EAP work, and a garage to put our stuff in. And the visitor center is probably the highlight of this. And, you know, to share some really exciting news, we, when we started this project and looked at how much it was going to cost, it was overwhelming, to say the least. We took the bold move to say, you know what, we're going to raise $3.3 million to build this. And this education and visitor center, which is about 6,000 square feet, will include this beautiful entrance with a lounge for family members and guests to come in. There'll be lots of windows to see into both of the arenas, to watch the lessons in an air-conditioned area. It also has a big wraparound porch, so when the weather is nice, we can sit out on the porch and enjoy each other's company and still be able to view the riders riding. And then that opens up into a, there have been a few changes because this is going to be more of a cafe area to, you know, get snacks and have a place to relax. And the big exciting point for anybody that's been to spring, there will be actual restrooms. I don't know if everybody on the call is aware, but at our spring location, we've been there 20 years using porta potties. So every building you see is going to have restrooms in it, because that is a big fun thing for us to actually have restrooms. And then that moves back into our classroom area so that we can accommodate school groups, trainings for our instructors and our volunteers, and then moves back into the office area for the staff to work out of. We are anticipating that once we build and grow to the capacity of this facility, our staff there will almost triple, if not more. So this is an exciting part of the build for us, and we this building alone was $650,000. And I have to say, I'm very excited to announce that LGI Homes, which is a home builder in the Woodlands, has committed to building this building for us at no cost to us. So a huge portion of what we need to make this happen is on the planning stages right now. In fact, we're going toward permitting this building for construction to start hopefully in April. So we're very excited. We want to thank LGI Homes they've been big supporters for many years, but this was above and beyond what I expected for sure. And it just really kicked off our capital campaign in an amazing way to say that, okay, we've got the first $650,000 in. Second big portion of this is a home for our horses. And this is a black and white rendering. We're working on what colors they're going to pick, but of what the new barn will look like. It will have stalls for 24 horses, tack rooms, restrooms, medical room. In the front here, you can, let me see how I do this. In the front here, sorry, I'm not good with these things, but there will be a welcome center so that clients and riders can come directly into the barn, check in, get their equipment. And we're really hoping to incorporate more work with getting their horse ready and bringing them into the arena whenever that's appropriate. So we're very excited that we'll be able to have this as part of our ongoing. Now I got to get out of this. How do I not stop the spotlight? Oh, next. Okay. And then the counseling center. This is going to be pretty unique in that it's going to have stalls for 4 horses connected to the main area. And we'll have offices for our therapist, a large gathering room that will accommodate small groups, parenting groups. If we have a group working on PTSD or a group session for women who have been victims of human trafficking, we have a place to meet with them. And then also a small little place in case one of our horses is sick for our staff to stay overnight and take care of them. So that's that. Like I said, the big outcome is, yes, we're going to have a beautiful facility. And I think the people that we serve deserve that. But the real impact is being able to more than double the number of people we're serving right now on a weekly basis, and the families and what comes of that. Expanding the equine assisted learning programs and bringing in equine assisted psychotherapy. We'll be able to support the team that we have, both our humans and horses, with the best possible tools, best facilities, and really increase the stability and sustainability of SIRE's operations for the future. Which also I want to tag in, we are in a very intense search for a home in Fort Bend County. So Toledo Farms is beautiful, but we kind of knew going in it might not be a long-term solution, and it doesn't look like that is going to be. So we're going to continue to look for a home in Fort Bend County. So we want to have this same facilities at Fort Bend, and it just is not doable on a place that we're leasing, it doesn't make economic sense to build all of something like this at a place we're leasing. So we're looking for that, and that's where a lot of people can come in helpful. Just if you know somebody or think you may know somebody, that is a high priority for us right now. I am also want to say that as far as the capital campaign goes, I know a lot of people may not have heard a lot about it. That's one reason we're having these meetings. We kicked that off in September to really talk to our funders who are grant makers. I'm happy to say that we kicked that off in September. By the end of the year, we had raised $1.3 million. And then I just got word today, I'm going to stop sharing because I can't see your faces when I'm not sharing, is, you know, we're very excited. We just got word today that we had applied to the Maybe Foundation for a $650,000 grant. And something happened that has never happened to me ever in grant writing. And I've been doing fundraising for well over 20 or way more than 20 years. But anyways, they came back and said, we're not going to fund your 650,000. We're going to fund you for 900,000. So we are very excited, and I've been dancing a lot in my office to say
wow,
that,
Joe. Wow. That's awesome.
Like I said, Pat's done grant writing. I don't know if you've ever had that happen before, but
no,
I
never have.
So to date, we've now raised $2.4 million toward this $3.3 million capital campaign. We have about, Victor will know, but I think we have another 650,000 in ask currently out there, and about 300,000 more in ask for some of our grantors coming up in the next few months. And then, so we got to see how that goes. And then we hope to get this to something manageable that doesn't scare people off when we go talking about individual gifts for this of, hey, help us get to the end line here and help us raise this last, whether it's $500,000 or $600,000. I will say the Maybe grant is very great, but it is what they call a challenge grant, and our receiving the funds is contingent upon us reaching our $3.3 million goal. So they're very happy to get us there, but they see that they want other people to be a part of this. So they helped us a lot by giving us an extra $250,000 toward our goal. But so we have. Yeah,
so Joe, does that mean that maybe we will actually get to air condition the whole outside now?
That is Charlotte's little pet project, is to air condition the arena, not just the visitor center, but the arena, the barn, and everything. But yes, no, not really. So we've made a lot of progress there, but it also, that gift and the generosity that all the funders have shown so far opens up the door for us to accelerate and have funds for our plans in Fort Bend, because we don't want to overlook that, and it is a challenge, but I think we're going to get there, and I'm very excited about it. So that's where we've come. I think I want to thank my board of directors. They've been very bold through this whole thing, and sometimes picked me up when I said, can we really do this? And I appreciate their confidence through it. And I'm looking forward to like I say, the next couple of years to bring all of this around and to have a SIRE that we can all be proud of and know is going to be around for another 50 years. So that's where we're at today. I don't know if you have any questions. And Mary, it's good to see you. I'll say hi to everyone. Mary and I just spent lots of times on the phone over the last couple of weeks to work with some projects with some students she works with at the university. So, And I know most of you on here, so I appreciate you coming on. If you have any questions, I am not part of the chat, so I can't see them. If any questions came up in the chat, Victor, you may have that, but feel free to unmute your mic and jump in the conversation.
Joe, I'd just like to say that I am so impressed by how far you guys have come in the last several years. I think it's probably been 5 years, 6 years since my students helped you out with the last strategic plan, and
Yes.
baby, you've come a long way. And congratulations on getting that. That is a huge, amazing. You know, as you know, I've been working with nonprofits for 10 years, and a $900,000 grant when you didn't even ask for that much. That's just, I just can't tell you how impressive that is. You guys are, what a great everybody recognizes what a great organization that SIRE is, and so that helps.
Thank you. And yeah, you've seen us through, because you've been on the side of strategic planning, you've seen the challenges that we've been through. When we did that first strategic plan, I think it was 2014, it was the conversation was more around how do we stay open than how do we do something like this.
Which location needs to close, and exactly. So you've come a long way. It's really a tribute.
And I will say, very exciting, not just on the capital campaign side, but, you know, like I say, when we did that strategic plan, it was, how do we get our financial house in order at all?
Right.
And now we're sitting with about $300,000 in reserves, so that when something like COVID hits, we can get through it. And so anyways, yes, thank you, Mary. I'm glad you were here.
I wouldn't miss it.
So I have a couple of questions that people sent to me in the chat here. The first question here says, you said you're starting in April. When will construction be done?
And I am hoping, I will say hoping, the one thing I've learned on this project is it may take longer to permit the construction project than complete the construction project. So we are in the permitting process right now, and we are very fortunate. Brooks and Sparks Engineering, civil engineer, volunteered and donated all their services on that work. And Leslie Nicholas, whose son rides with us, is a permit expediter, and she has volunteered and donated her services. None of that guarantees anything except that we've got the stuff in place. So if it goes as planned, we hope to break ground in April. We'll have a separate general contractor for all the rest of the buildings besides what LGI is building. So LGI is hoping to get in as quick as possible. They think it'll take them about 85 to 90 days to complete that building, which would put it done in June. And then the construction bids we have now are anywhere from 4 months to 7 months to complete the project. So I would say total between jockeying those two general contractors, it very likely will be done, if not by the end of this year, by December 31st, very soon after, or a major percentage of it will be done by the end of the year if we can get permitting done and raise the rest of the money. So the good news is LGI is committed to building that building no matter how much money we raise. So we will be getting that education center for sure.
And I see another one here. Will the permitting include the whole project?
Good question. And that is something the expediter is working at. We are permitting the entire, we have to permit the entire site plan for the mud district for water and detention, but the buildings are being permitted separately because it's faster to put them through that way, I'm told.
Awesome. I have one that I have not seen before. With all the new riders who will be coming in, the more people you're serving, are you going to need more staff and volunteers?
We are absolutely. And we're already starting to work on that project because right now, spring has about 125 volunteers a week coming there. And we are forecasting that over the next 3 years, if we grow our rider base, that needs to grow to about 200 over 3 years. Obviously, we're not going to open the gates in December and have 100 new riders coming in, but we do see it as a 3-year growth phase that we're going to be going through, which does mean hiring more staff. We're going to move from 15 horses to 30 horses eventually out there. So we're going to hire equine managers and barn help and maintenance. The volunteer coordinator is not going to be able to be a part-time volunteer coordinator, part-time instructor, because they're going to be recruiting a lot of volunteers. We're starting to look at the technology to put a lot of our volunteer training online so people can get a lot of that done and get oriented to us. So yeah, we do foresee that. And this is one of the things that we talked about with one of our potential funders is one of the things that doing this at one facility is going to do is, while we will double the number of people that we serve, it won't double our operating budget. It's probably, we're projecting now it's going to be a 30 to 40% increase in our operating budget to serve twice as many people. So, but yes, that staff is going to grow from, right now they have 3 full-time and 8 part-time people, to probably 8 full-time people and 10 part-time people.
Awesome. Actually, that goes great with the next question I see here. Does having more riders mean more costs, or like does increasing staff and whatnot mean more costs for riders?
It does, but the big cost is the infrastructure, and that will be in place. So as I said, we foresee that the expenses to serve twice as many people is not a 100% increase in the budget. It's probably a 30-40% increase. That's still not a small challenge for my staff to fundraise, but one of the exciting things is with this capital campaign is we've reached out to some foundations and funders that maybe funded us in the past and have kind of gone away or never funded us, and this hopefully will re-energize them to come back in and help us raise that money.
Okay. This is a good one. How much space do you need in Fort Bend?
Yes. So what if it's going to become, we got 2 different needs. We got what we need in September to open up. And so what we're looking for now is minimally 25 acres with at least 1 covered arena and a barn for 15 horses. And we've lived without barns. We've lived without a lot of things, but a covered arena, but to have 15 horses on property, we need then 20 acres, 15 for pasturage and 5 acres for the facilities.
But ideally, for the future, we want something larger than that, because if we're going to build the same type of facility that we'll have in spring, it will need more acreage, like 40 plus acres.
Yeah, about 40.
Yeah, it's 40 plus. I mean, yep. A couple extra acres wouldn't kill anyone, but at least 40. And then obviously a larger barn, more than 1 arena, the facilities to do the equine assisted learning, to have office space, to have classroom space, and then probably to have the psychotherapy as well. So, and basically what we're building in spring is going to be the model for what we want to build ultimately in Fort Bend as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, I said that for September because what we're learning in spring is this isn't just something you decide to build and it's done in 2 months. It's quite the process. So we've got to find, whether it's leasing or somebody donating space, a place to be that has an arena and has a barn. We can't just say, oh, here's 40 acres and we'll go build a place in the next 6 months. But, you know, so that may be a longer term need. Yeah.
So
but Joe, it's not really, I'm sorry, Victor, it's not really in September that we need it. We need it before June 1st because we have to have a place to put our horses June.
So actually both those things I will combine the two questions I see. One was, will Fort Bend offer classes this summer? And obviously we're going to have to find a new place to do that before the summer. Yeah. And then I have another question here that's, is there an approximate number or amount that SIRE would want to spend to lease land in Fort Bend?
Hey, I got this one, Joe. Want to spend? We would love someone to donate it to us. Ideally, that would be awesome. But no, we absolutely do have a budget for that. So, Joe.
Yeah. The budget that we could probably fit pretty easily right now is somewhere in the $5,000 to $8,000 a month range to lease a facility. And I say lease because we've grown to a size. This is why, you know, we used to be a Sienna plantation, and we've just outgrown any place that's tried to share space with us to where they're like, hey, we need to let our people ride here too. So yeah, we do have money in the budget. We're prepared to lease short term or lease buy. And if it's a purchase, then the board can look at how they're going to finance. And it'd be very difficult for a nonprofit to say, okay, we just finished a $3.3 million campaign. Everybody take a deep breath because we got to raise another $3 million to build a new property. So they'll look at how we finance it and that, but it's all doable. Whether we have the summer session is how quickly we can get to a new place. I am trying to I'm trying to keep my commitment to as doable as possible, say at least in September we'll have something. But our plan is to have something for the summer session, yes.
Joe, I have another question. So I hate to throw this at you because y'all are doing so well. And I understand that Fort Bend, you know, is a legacy location for you, and you have clients there that you need to serve. But in thinking back to that first project that my students worked on, would you all be open to expanding to other locations in Houston, or have you had your eye on other areas, you know, within the Houston, or let's say Galveston, or let's say other cities, or?
Yeah, good question. Yes and no. It's a much longer term project. I will say that one reason that Fort Bend is so special is we've been there now for 10 years. And that community has a very tight-knit philanthropic component to it.
Yep.
That a good portion, almost 80% of the operating funds for Fort Bend come from people that only give to charities in Fort Bend County. So it would be very difficult to move outside of that area and pick up all that revenue at the same time. So we're very dedicated to Fort Bend because the Fort Bend community is very dedicated to us. We've had conversations about, yeah, the Galveston area, because we once did riding in Galveston. SIRE was in Galveston at one time.
Actually, Joe, it wasn't SIRE, but it was another therapeutic riding program that some of the SIRE people had worked at.
Oh, good. Well, we're going to continue to let the Moody Foundation thank us for being in there in Galveston. Because they're getting very generous with us here. So Anyways, I appreciate that, Pat. Pat is my historian for everything that every story I make up. She's there to let me to.
You know, the other area that we do draw a lot of clients from is the Katy area.
That's exactly why I asked that question. And
Yeah.
I was wondering if y'all had ever explored, and I'm not necessarily saying swap the two out. I'm saying once Fort Bend is funded and you've got your facilities, what would you be, had you thought about location number 3 for SIRE? So
that would definitely be worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I think long-term, you know, there are certainly maybe partnerships and different things that we could look at doing. But one of the reasons that we wanted to scale back is that having 3 locations was very difficult to manage because of the redundancies and positions that you really, you know, you have to have full-time people, and so it just is
logistics. Yeah.
And so, you know, if we could be big enough that it justifies it and have enough money coming in to justify it, then that becomes maybe a different conversation. But I think that that's definitely not in the next 3 years of our strategic plan at this point.
Yeah. Ann, you're on mute, Ann. You're muted, Ann.
Got it.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Okay, I also put it in the chat question. I was mentioning the equestrian center in Katy. It is in the southern part of Katy, and I don't know whether it's actually in Fort Bend County or not, but the school right close to it is considered Fort Bend County, even though it's a Katy school. So that's a lovely facility, and I don't know how it's being used, but I think if SIRE has any way to jump in on that, they should.
Yeah, and we are in conversation. You're talking about Great Southwest Equestrian Center.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in conversations. We would really, and to do that, they have quite an extensive show program in the spring.
Right.
That would, and most of those are on weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, when our people are most available to ride. But we're working. Yes, we're in conversations with them.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a great place.
It is, and it has everything we would want right there. And it seems like, well, if they're mainly on weekends, and we don't have, or we have how many riders that ride on Saturdays? Is there any way that could be switched?
Well, yeah, that's the conversation that we're trying to have is what would, if they would be willing, what would it look like? And, you know, and are we and our riders, you know, it's something big changes, but, you know, to say, well, what would people come if we had to say we can't ride on Saturday, but we can ride on Sundays and still be on a weekend? I don't know. And we've got a little task force with Shana and Helen trying to look at all those logistical things. Yeah.
I see Candy with her hand raised. Candy.
Oh, Candy.
Hey guys. Have you looked or talked to other therapeutic riding centers that are aiming to be that big on the impact that many people around has on the riders themselves? Like, one of the things that was most beautiful about Fort Bend was that it was an extremely peaceful experience for everybody, the horse, the rider, hopefully the parents or carers. And there was this kind of, it was quiet, and so the concentration on riding was like the focus. When you have so many more people around in the space, have you talked to how other big centers cope with that?
Yes, I've visited. There aren't a lot of them. I will say, you know, and especially when we're done with this, there are probably going to be 3 or 4 other facilities in the whole United States that are this size. But there's one in San Diego and one in Cleveland. I've visited the one in Cleveland and have talked to the executive director. I think our advantage is, especially at the spring location, as well as Fort Bend, is the area is secluded. Once you come on campus, you don't have any of the other noise around. And even with 2 arenas, the maximum number of riders we would have at one time would be 8. So, or 8, yes, I hope. So we're still limited there somewhat, that it's never a time where we have, now when you add staff and volunteers in, that can start getting your numbers up, but they're pretty focused on what's going in. So
Right.
we are trying to work through landscaping and some architectural landscaping to make sure there are quiet zones and places where you don't see parking lots and things like that. So
Right.
yeah.
In the spring map that you showed, the plan,
Yeah.
are you still incorporating the trail ride area?
It will probably be, yes, it'll probably be moved. That's why I mentioned it in the plan, is we really want to upgrade that and put it where it's accessible.
Got it. Okay.
Because we've got to put in that large detention pond where some of that trail is right now. But
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we missed the trail in Fort Bend.
Yes.
Great. Well, are there any other questions? That was great. You all had some excellent insights. That was fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys coming on this evening. I wanted to keep you up to date. One thing that you will see coming up, and I'll encourage you, is we're going to be doing some more of these, either a small group gatherings, some virtual, depending on people's preferences, to really discuss if the capital campaign and supporting SIRE in this project is something that you're interested in. It's not part of tonight. This is just to thank you for the support you've given us and let you know where we've been this last year and where we're headed. And I've really enjoyed these. This is, I think, the 4th one I've done this last month, and or 3rd or 4th, and I really enjoy them. So, and it's a much easier way to get together than, all of SIRE driving from all over Houston and the surrounding 11 counties to come visit. So I think you'll see more of these opportunities in the future around different topics. So thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for your leadership. Anything, I'll let you close it out since I talked 90% of the time.
Well, I mean, I think you've kind of already closed it out, Joe, but thanks for letting me tell everyone goodbye. Now, thank you guys very much for joining us. We appreciate your continued support and interest in our organization, and look forward to chatting with you all again soon.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Guys,
Bye all.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.